Hello everyone, if you're new here, my name is Latanya. I am a middle school teacher in Southern California, and typically I do weekly vlogs or daily vlogs, and a lot of times it's very heavily focused on my life as a teacher. But a few years ago, I made a very short video series on just my financial journey and some financial goals that I had for myself, and the main goal that I was trying to accomplish when I started that was to eliminate all the credit card debt that I had amassed over the years. And I have officially done that. I did that as of, I think, around June 1st of this year. I paid off my last credit card, and although there's been a big gap since the last financial video that I did promise myself and the people that I've asked that I would do a financial update video and kind of talk about my journey of paying off credit card debt, especially as a single teacher in Southern California, and kind of share what my experience was like and give some tips, if you want to call it that, along the way. So if you're here for that, great. If not, please stick around. And I'm going to try and keep this pretty straightforward, pretty clear, not complicated, pretty casual, and not too long. Again, I'm a teacher, so I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an expert in this field. I am just an expert on what works for me. Before I get into it, there's a few things that I want to say. My camera battery is acting up, so it is very possible that the battery is going to die before I finish, and then I'm gonna have to charge it and then finish the video later on in the day. So if the lighting changes, that's why. I think you can see my dog back there. This is Wolfie Goldberg. He looks like he's gonna be quiet. He's relatively new to me. He's never been around when I vlog, so if he barks, please excuse him. And also the gardeners are working outside, so they may or may not pick back up to mowing the lawn while I'm talking, so please excuse the noise. So I thought I would start with my financial update, just kind of talking about my financial biography. And I put notes on my phone because I wanted to be pretty clear and concise and not forget anything along the way. But basically, my financial biography is this. I grew up in a family of 5. I am the oldest of 3. My parents are still together. My dad was self-employed as an architect, and my mom worked for Southern California Edison. And because my dad was self-employed, although my mom had a regular income, it's just kind of like our financial life as a family was very kind of up and down. We either had extreme highs where we had plenty of money to go off or live off of, or we may have had lows where money was just really tight. So I feel like in that, all love to my parents, but I didn't necessarily learn the best money management skills because my parents hadn't really been taught the best money management skills. Now, mind you, we did okay. We lived a relatively middle class upbringing, but there were struggles along the way is basically what I'm saying. But I know that when I left home for college, I didn't have like super solid financial habits in place. And so I had to kind of build those as I got older. I didn't save. My first job was in high school. I worked the drive-thru at Taco Bell, and you better believe that every paycheck that I got was immediately spent on going to the mall. So no saving habits had been established. I got money and I spent money. If I had money, I was going to spend money. And so I lived like that for a while. I go to college, graduate college, and all throughout college and several years post-college, money was just always tight for me. I was making it, I was getting bills paid, I was able to do normal things like get a car, I had apartments, but in the midst of that, I was literally living paycheck to paycheck. Like I would be able to get all my bills paid, and I was counting down to the penny before the next paycheck came, hoping and making sure that I would be able to kind of take care of just like the basic needs. While living paycheck to paycheck though, because I had poor money habits or hadn't developed really money habits, but I also had a heavy shopping habit, and I was just living life, like paying my rent and paying my bills and paying the cable and paying my car note. I amassed a lot of credit card debt. Some of it was out of necessity, quite honestly. Some of it I had to do because I was buying groceries or whatever the case may be. And some of it was not out of necessity. Some of it was just me wanting to shop, or me wanting things that I couldn't really afford, or me just liking the idea of having credit cards in my wallet. And that sounds crazy, but I do know that in my 20s, I even put that in my notes, I do know that in my 20s, there was a point where I was like, I want a credit card in every single slot available in my wallet. So I would get credit cards and then I would use them. And then I would pay the minimums. And I was just in this vicious cycle of making it, but not really thriving, not really having any extra money to do anything, and really feeling like my life was limited in that regard. So that went on through all of my 20s, a good portion of my 30s, and then fast forward to January of 2020, before the world came to an end and all of that. I just got tired. I was like, you know what, I'm really tired of living like this. Now, by that point, I had bought the condo that I'm in now with the heavy assistance of my parents, and I am forever grateful to them for that. I had bought a condo. I had been living here for a while, and again, I was doing okay, but I was just like barely making it month to month. And then especially when the summer would come, it was really tight because I don't get paid in the summer. The only money that I have access to is the money that I managed to save throughout the school year. So I just got fed up with that. So in January of 2020, I decided to turn over a new leaf and really heavily focus on eliminating credit card debt and just kind of getting my life on track. My goal when I started the journey was, by the end of it, all I wanted to have to worry about was mortgage payment, regular household bills like utilities, car payments, car insurance, and my student loans. Like, that's all I wanted. I wanted no credit card debt. So once that goal was established, these are the first few steps that I took, and I'm going to refer to my notes so I make sure I don't forget anything. The first thing I did is I just got all my statements and I made a list of all the credit card debt that I had, and I wrote it down from the smallest balance to the highest balance, and I just wrote it in order, and then I also totaled it up. And when I totaled that up, I think I was shocked. Like, I knew I had a lot of credit card debt in different places, but that was the first time that I put it all in one place and then calculated it and added it up. And if I remember correctly, it was somewhere between $22,000 to $25,000 in total. I know it's on a piece of paper somewhere upstairs in my office, and I just didn't go find that paper, but it was a lot. So I wrote that down and took a deep breath and said, this is why you have this goal. Like, this is a lot of credit card debt for one person to hold. And so once I made that list, I decided, okay, we need to have a plan. And that's where I dipped my toe into the world of Dave Ramsey and followed the basic advice of, first, I established an emergency fund. So I opened up a separate account, not in my main bank. Like, I wanted it to be in an account that at a place where I don't really go often. I didn't want a debit card to it, so I set up an emergency fund of $1,000. That was the first thing that I did, and that did take me a couple of months to do because, again, my money was super tight. And then once I did that, I looked at the list of the credit cards that I had from the lowest balance to the highest, and I started with the lowest balance first. I mean, I'm sure if you're watching this video, you've probably heard of that technique. It's called the snowball technique, and that's what I chose to do. Mind you, though, at this point, I had my YouTube channel for a while, for a few years. At first, when I started the channel, it wasn't monetized. I don't even think that I knew you could monetize it, but by this point, it was monetized. So what I told myself is any additional income that I make from YouTube, because by that point, I had made money from obviously the views, but I had also done some collaborations. Any additional money that you make from YouTube needs to immediately be paid on the credit card that you're working on paying off. And that's what I did. So any additional income that I made went directly to those credit cards, whether it was income from YouTube, collaborations, whether it was a tax return, additional stipends that I picked up at work. All of that money was devoted to credit card and debt repayment. So I paid off the first small one, and whatever that monthly bill was, I then took that monthly bill, or monthly payment I should say, and then I applied that to the next smallest one. Made the regular payment on that card, plus the additional payment from the credit card that I had just paid off, plus any additional money that I was making through social media activity or extra things that I was doing at work. And I just continued that process until I got down to the last one. And I will say, I do think that the snowball strategy is very effective if you feel very overwhelmed by the total amount of debt that you have. B, you're kind of on your own when it comes to paying off debt. And C, like, you know that you could easily get discouraged. I think it is true that once you see, you know, hey, I paid off this credit card, and if I can pay off this credit card, surely I can do it with the next one. Once you experience the momentum of that success, that is one of the things that will keep you going, because you are seeing progress. Some people may tell you to pay off the credit card that has the highest interest rate on it. That makes sense. I understand why, because you're accruing more debt because the interest rate is higher. But I knew that wasn't going to work for me, because those cards had very high balances. And as I was paying off the smaller ones, I was still on the inside kind of worried, like, oh my God, what are you going to do when you get to the credit card that has the highest balance? And I think that credit card was my Nordstrom card, and I believe it was my Best Buy card and then my Nordstrom card. My Best Buy card had over $5,000 on it because I bought my appliances for the condo using that card. And then Nordstrom had probably about the same, if not more, because that card was just used for shopping, car repairs, cash. It was just used for everything. So definitely for me, doing that snowball technique really did work and really did keep up the momentum. However, I will say what is key and what was key for me and what was clutch for me is that I had already established a secondary stream of income. So if you're looking to do this and you don't have a secondary income, I don't know how I would have done it without it. Like, and at this point, I want to take the opportunity to anyone that's watching now and has been watching for years to say thank you, because I don't know that I would have been able to pay off the debt in the amount of time I did had I not had the support through, you know, people watching my YouTube videos, which then led to opportunities to collaborate with different brands, which then led to additional money that way. So I thank you to everyone that's watched over the years. But if you're looking to do it, if you're not doing social media, you're not doing YouTube or anything like that, can you tutor at school? Can you tutor outside of school? Are there stipend positions that you could take? Can you do summer school? Anything like that, any other secondary job that you can pick up. Social media worked really well for me because it was always on my own time, and I could do it when I had time and all of that. So finding secondary income is absolutely key, or at least it was for me. And so I do also want to say that in the process of doing that, there were definitely setbacks along the way. It wasn't like a straight line. My car broke down. At one point, like early on, my car broke down and I had to get that fixed. So I depleted my emergency fund almost as soon as it was started. And then I had to pause on the debt repayment and then go back and replenish the emergency fund. And psychologically, having that emergency fund was also very helpful. Like anytime I felt myself panicking, like, oh, money's getting tight this month, or some things were going on, it was just a sigh of relief to remember, oh, you have this account that has at least $1,000 in it, so you'll be good. So I had setbacks along the way. I made choices along the way that I'm sure people like Dave Ramsey wouldn't have liked. Again, this all started with the pandemic, so in the middle of that, at some point, I incurred, is that the word? Yeah, incurred more debt because I ended up getting the Peloton bike. So that was adding debt. I was okay with that though, because it was interest free for 3 years. So I knew I just needed to pay it off in the 3 years. And you know, every now and then I just did things like that. But for the most part, I stayed pretty committed and focused on getting my credit cards paid off, one credit card at a time, using that snowball technique. Every time I paid off a credit card, the minimum payment that I had been making on that card was combined with the minimum payment of the cards I had previously paid off and applied to the current credit card that I was working on, in addition to YouTube income, extra money being made at work, tax refunds, so on and so forth. All right, my battery is giving me the signal that it's going to die at any second now, but hopefully I can get through the rest of this video. So that is how I handled my credit card debt. Like I said, there were bumps along the way, but I was able to one by one get them done, and I attribute a lot of that to just that feeling of success I got anytime I paid one off using the snowball method. Now, the title of this video is going to be something along the lines of how I paid off over $120,000 of debt on a teacher's salary. I've accounted for the 20 some odd And so the other amount, the large amount, the $100,000 amount, is my student loans. So the biggest game changer in getting rid of a lot of debt for me was really taking advantage of the fact that there was that public service loan forgiveness waiver that was going on. I don't even remember how long it was going on for, but it was open for a while. And so basically the public service loan forgiveness program is a loan forgiveness program for people that work in like the public sector. So I think if you were like a park employee, or you worked for the state, or there were a number of jobs that kind of fell under that, and teaching was one of those, as long as you were working in a public school setting. The waiver part came in where you didn't have to show that you made 10 years of predetermined payments by them. When I looked into the public service loan forgiveness program years ago, I would have had to made 10 years worth of insanely high payments that I couldn't afford. So I wasn't going to qualify. So I was just making the regular payments that I was assigned from the loan company that I had borrowed from, which was, I think, Sally Mae at some point. So I had been doing that. So when I heard that waiver was now in effect, where as long as you could show that you had made 120 payments on your student loans, you were eligible to apply. So I applied, I crossed my fingers. I wasn't 100% confident that it was going to work out, because I wasn't certain that I had made 120 payments, because I had gone through deferment and then I had been in school. And so I wasn't sure all the payments were going to add up to 120. So I applied and just said, I really have nothing to lose. Like, I'm just going to apply and see what happens. I have nothing to lose. If they say no, it's fine. I'll just keep making my student loan payments as I have been. And then I actually even got a letter from them saying, like, you don't qualify. You have not made enough payments. And so I was like, okay, that's it. I'm not going to qualify. Let's just get in and settle down with these student loan payments that we're going to have to the day that you die. So I let that go, and then for some reason I logged onto my account, or my application account, and saw that the loans had been discharged. So of course I call and I say, hey, I'm calling to see what's going on. I just got a letter saying I didn't qualify. Now when I log on, it shows that I have no student loan balance anymore. What's going on? And so the woman I spoke to confirmed, like, yes, your loans are in the process of being discharged, meaning that they're being forgiven. And on top of that, there's some refund money coming your way. And so that was huge. That was a part of my debt repayment journey, or eliminating the debt, a part of the journey that I just really wasn't expecting. I really thought my student loans were going to be there forever. They weren't going anywhere. And my goal was, once I paid off my credit cards, to then take that money that I was saving from credit card payments and try and pay down my student loans faster. And it turns out I didn't have to do that, because I got them forgiven. That waiver is no longer in effect. And at the time of this video being made, last week, the Supreme Court decided to overturn Biden's decision to forgive $10,000 to $20,000 of student loans for single people as well as families, which is very disappointing. And hopefully there's some way that we can get around that, but I'm really not sure. So I was lucky in the sense that I was under a different program and I was able to take advantage of that waiver. But that is a huge part of my, I guess we'll call it, financial freedom journey, or eliminating debt journey. So where does that leave me now? At this point, it is the summer of 2023. I have no credit card debt, although there's a caveat I'm going to tell you in a second. I have paid off all the credit cards that I started with. I have no student loan debt. I have a mortgage payment, my utilities, and my car payment as my major payments. And I don't know what my credit score was at the start of this. I didn't check it. It was good enough to qualify for the condo, and it was okay. Like, I don't remember having, phone calls when I tried to get a car or anything where my credit was a serious concern. But I just checked my credit not too long ago, because of course I'm curious, and at this point my credit score is about 100. No, my credit score is about 800, which is considered to be very good. Going forward, the plan is to keep those balances at zero. It feels quite nice to have zero credit card debt. The money that I am now saving, I am going to put into retirement. So before the school year ended last year, I doubled the amount that I am going to be contributing this upcoming school year to my retirement account. And then also taking any additional money, whether it be through YouTube, tax returns, extra things that I do at work and really put it into doing some upgrades in my condo. I desperately want to redo my kitchen and my bathrooms. My first goal in the house is to get shutters put on the windows, so that's where the money is going to be going in that regard, and also saving up money to continue to be able to travel internationally and just have experiences. So that's the plan. And then to just kind of wrap it up, I thought like I would go over what I feel like the keys to success are in doing this for yourself. Number one, my teaching pay in Southern California helped a lot. If I were living in another state and I've seen what teachers are being paid there, I don't know that I would have been able to do it within the time span that I was able to. Teachers are paid for the most part in relationship to other places where teachers are paid. Teachers are paid in Southern California pretty well. You can end your career here making over $120,000 as a teacher for a 10-month work here. Now I know in other states that's not the case because the cost of living is lower, but at this point the discrepancy in the cost of living between states does not line up with the discrepancy in pay. So I am thankful that I'm in a state and in a district that is unionized where the teaching pay really helped me in the journey, as well as having additional income through social media, YouTube, side jobs, tutoring, after school programs that I did. That was huge. I would not have been able to do it without it. And then being realistic about who I am. One of the things I did with my passive income from YouTube, the money that I made from just people watching, that went into an account that was strictly for me to shop with. I know I love to shop. I know that if I just said, you may not shop ever again until these credit cards are paid off, I would have been setting myself up for failure and disaster. And then that would have, it just really sabotaged me. So I had an account that was just for shopping and or for travel, and that money strictly came from views on YouTube. So that really was helpful for me. And then also, anytime I got extra money, like my tax return, that money could not sit into in my checking account for too long. As soon as I got that money, I had to immediately push it out to debt repayment, because once you let it sit and simmer in your accounts for a minute, before you know it, you've spent it on things that you don't even remember spending it on. So as soon as that extra money came in, it went out right away. This battery is about to die, so I'm going to talk really fast to wrap this up. But lastly, the key is just to stick with it and not get discouraged. As you heard me mention, I definitely had some setbacks along the way. Some of them were out of my control. Some of them were kind of in my control, like getting the Peloton. But I just stuck with it along the way and just had built confidence in myself that I could do this because I had experienced success once again through the snowballing. The caveat that I said I was going to mention later is that right now I do have a mortgage, a car payment, my utilities, and then I bought a Peloton treadmill. That one is financed, so that is the other thing I'm doing with my money now, is that I need to finish paying off that sooner than the term I signed up for. So it's not like I'm this perfect person where I make no additional purchases during this process, or that I didn't make any additional purchases. Sometimes, like with the treadmill, I had to weigh like the benefit and the cost in my life, and I really feel like I need to have regular physical exercise. I liked the bike. I paid that off very quickly, or in the amount of time I wanted to, so that I didn't accrue interest. This one's not interest free, but I know that I'm going to pay it off sooner to minimize the amount of interest that I'm paying. And then once that treadmill is paid off, I no longer have to pay a gym membership. So for me, the long end of me getting that treadmill actually saved me money, because now I'm not paying, I think I was paying probably $160 a month to be a member of a place like Orange Theory, whereas now I can create my own Orange Theory here in my house with my treadmill, my bike, and my weights. So that's the update. Latanya has no credit card debt, with the exception of the treadmill that she'll be paying off. My focus is now going to be on the things that I said, just increasing my retirement spending, focusing on taking the money that I now have access to, because I'm not paying bills or credit cards, to create more experiences for myself, like travel. I'll continue to shop, but I still have a separate shopping account for that. Home repairs, home improvements, and one of the things that I did do that I didn't mention is I now have separate accounts for those things. So I have a separate account with my credit union for car repairs, a separate account with my credit union for home improvements, and a separate account with the credit union for home repairs. So and I just have money going there automatically every month. I think anywhere from, I think each of them I put about $50 a month in there. So that is it. If you have any other questions that I didn't answer, please let me know, but just stay encouraged. Again, I am a single teacher living in Southern California on a teacher's salary, and I was able to pay off on my own over $20,000 in credit card debt just by sheer discipline and having a plan and sticking to that plan and not giving up and finding ways to bring in extra income. And so I really feel like if I can do it, anyone can do it, and it is an amazing feeling. So if you are thinking about doing it, I strongly encourage you to do so. If you have any questions, let me know in the description box. I'll link the old videos as well. Battery's gonna die, so I will talk to you guys next time. Thank you so much, and I hope you found this video helpful. Bye.